Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming and today's long play Reckoning and today's review of AICO Incarnation. Now, this show did not get good reviews. And most of it has to do with the storyline, and I can understand that because I just watched it and I still can't really tell you what the story is. So yeah, there's that. But beyond that, what it actually is it's a decent action adventure. It's a Netflix adaptation, which is probably another reason why I just blank it out. It's become second nature for me to just blank it out. But something to just sit down and watch for the action within it. Yeah, it's not bad. The story is really about genetic manipulation and some of the dangers of it. That's really all the story's about. And that is an issue, truly, in more ways than one. So, what do I mean by that? It's what the show is talking about, while though more on a more advanced basis than what we're actually capable of. What the show is talking about is truly just genetic manipulation, which we do today. We have lots of GMOs, genetically modified organisms. You know, what does that mean? What is a genetically modified organism? Well, yeah, okay. A genetically modified organism is a plant or animal that has been changed genetically for whatever reason. Montecito has been doing that for years to crops to make them resistant to insects and things of that sort. So, on the surface, that seems like a good thing. And in the short term, it is. It's in the long term that I have a problem with. And it's in the long term that nobody wants to look at. And it's in the long term that people want to say it's a conspiracy theory. It's only a conspiracy theory until it happens. And then once it's happened, you have to deal with it. It's basically a way to obfuscate or put off or kick the can down the road so you don't have to deal with it today. We'll deal with it tomorrow when it really is a problem that we don't have the ability to deal with. You know, basically let the problem get so bad that it can't be fixed. That just seems like the wrong way to go about doing things, truly. So what's wrong with genetically modified organisms? Well, kind of like how this shows, and there's many others of its sort, eventually, through evolution, there's no telling what's going to happen. And in most cases, when you modify stuff like that, it doesn't end up good for anyone. It actually will probably end up as something much more dangerous than either of the components used were originally. Let's take, for instance, tomato plants. Okay, most of the seeds that you buy today in your stores to grow tomato plants are genetically modified seeds. And those seeds are designed to create a plant that is resistant to tomato worms. How did they do that? Well, they genetically cross tomato worms with the plant so that when the insects that lay those eggs go to lay said eggs, they won't lay them near the tomato plants because they think the tomato plants are them. That's basically how that works. The plants put off the same scent, I think, is a way of putting it, or the same oils, or something like that, as the insect itself. So the insect sees it as, part of its species, rather than the plant that it's been designed to eat for, thousands of years.
You made it.
You're probably wondering, well, how is that a bad thing? How could that be a bad thing? Well, here's the issue with that. In the wild, that plant will evolve. That genetically modified organism will evolve.
You're back.
What will it evolve into? I have no idea.
As usual, I was wrong.
But I can't imagine that over a few thousand years that it's going to evolve into anything good.
For the next several weeks as she recovers.
Considering that it was crossed with an insect.
Place of compassion, and it's thanks to you. Please, take my sword and buckler.
And the same thing can be said for all the crops that have been genetically modified. In the short term, a few hundred years, it's a benefit. In the long term, because that will get into the wild and it will evolve, I see it causing massive problems all over the place. The problems that I can't even begin to describe because I have no idea how widespread and problematic it will be. It might just be a plant that's, so poisonous that getting stuck by it will kill you instantly. Who knows? Or it could be something much more subtle in that respect. I have no idea what a genetically modified organism like that is going to evolve into. I just can't imagine that it's going to evolve into anything good.
Bye now.
That's kind of where I'm getting at. I don't see that being the outcome of what they've done. Because there was never really any thought put into the long-term evolution of this new species that they created. So yeah, that's kind of where that goes for me. Okay. So yeah, that's just kind of how that works for me, I guess. That's how I understand that. And that, like I said, that's what this show's about. It's a good action adventure. The story itself isn't worth listening to, truly. But it's got some good action scenes in it. They're fighting a giant blob that keeps trying to eat people, and does. Assimilate them, whatever it's doing to them. So yeah, it's got some interesting parts to it. It's not a bad watch. Just turn your brain off. Don't think about it too hard. Otherwise, you're going to find a whole lot of inconsistencies and things that are never answered or even touched upon again. Dead storylines. You name it, it's all there. But other than that, I mean, if you just look past all of that to the entertaining part of it, it's okay for that. Brainless entertainment, it is. And I watch a lot of trash anime, so I know what brainless entertainment is, truly. I say I watch a lot of trash anime, but I try not to. But sometimes, trash anime has interesting points, surprisingly. Not all the time. Most of them I can't stand, but occasionally. occasionally they come off with some pretty decent arguments within their trash animes.
I can't give you much in return, but what I have is yours. The Alpha Army is notoriously secretive with their information, and all my pleas for help have been ignored. You might find something.
So what is
That
AICO
is why Captain
in
volunteered.
Incarnation?
Of course, that was years ago. Thank you for your kindness.
It's a
I will be
Netflix
waiting
thing,
here
truly.
for news.
And they have
On that very road,
adapted it
one
like
leading
most
east
things
to
that they
Brazil
adapt in the
coast.
worst way
He
possible.
was heading off to enlist at the station in Downhill.
And as a result, it got low ratings for it, and as it should. Truly. There's no reason for them to have done what they did to this.
They seem the same as
From what I can tell.
Wiser, perhaps, but decent.
It's kind of like the Rings of Power thing. They took something good and made something horrible out of it. Yay, Netflix! Good job.
There are two Fey factions, the
You've
gentle
done it
court
again.
of summer and its coarser cousin, the court of winter. As a child,
Now, truly what I think that they're doing and why they name this stuff the same names and blah 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 and make all these remakes of
in the last few
stuff
years,
and rename it the
court of
exact same
winter
name.
has fallen.
The reason they're doing that
Back
is
to a group of
to remove
powerful
history,
Fey called
truly.
Tuatha. It's the Tuatha
Because then they start campaigns on, oh, we have to get rid of this show, and oh, we have to get rid of those books. I mean, they
Truth be
stopped
told, I
printing
know
Dr.
nothing of
Seuss.
why the Tuatha are at war with the Alfar, nor why men fight the way they do.
And a
All I
lot of
know
online
is
stores had
that
already stopped
the Tuatha's madness infected
selling
the
them
court.
before
All
that.
Fey existed peacefully for centuries until the Tuatha got involved.
And you're like, book services had removed it from their listings.
I would think they were a myth if not for the Tuatha.
It's
They
insanity.
keep far from us. Perhaps they view us as intruders in their lands. Perhaps they disapprove of
They
our
say the rights
civilized
wants to
ways.
remove books from the
Perhaps
stores,
they
but the
know
left
something
literally
we don't.
removes books from
I fear
existence.
that most of all.
Which is worse?
I was a miller's love
Removing
who became a
porn
miller's
that shouldn't have been in the schools in the first
Now I'm
place?
the wife of a soldier. My
Or
duty is to
removing the
hold vigil
existence
for
of
my
it
beloved
entirely,
for all
so that
our
nobody can even know
lives.
that it once was.
I was born and raised right here in the village.
I would
Well,
say the
not
latter.
in Gorhart proper, but on
And
a
then they
farm
would say that
just
that's not
outside the
happening.
village boundaries.
Yet I can show them
It
many
was
of
all like
examples of it happening,
before the war, of
and
course.
they'll just ignore it. Pretend that it's not reality. Because it's not part of their truth,
It's
their
strange.
reality.
Those old birds have been
Yeah.
perched on that hill for as long as I can remember.
It's a
staring
sickness,
down
people.
over the rest of us in the village like hawks.
Born of stupidity.
I know so little about them. I don't even know their names.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm well aware that one child left
It's my
behind is a
understanding
major
that they were
component of
once
this
members of the
insanity.
Court of Winter.
It allowed for our schools to no longer teach, be even required to teach our children, and still can give them degrees. That's why after its implementation, the amount of children graduating from high school went from like 38 to 75%.
Farewell.
It wasn't because they were actually educating the children. No, that's not why it went up. It was because they no longer had to educate the children and could still give them a degree. No child left behind. As long as they just show up, they don't have to do anything. They'll get a degree. Yay! And since because they no longer actually had to educate them, they could start replacing classes like science and history and math with, activism. That's not what they call it. They call it like communications, economics. That's a funny one. Life building. Equity classes. And this is what they push down our children's throat. That and the porn, Gotta make sure that we normalize pedophilia. So that when we ask people to legalize it, they don't have a problem with it anymore. Obviously. And that's not how they'll do it. It'll be the age of consent. They'll just keep asking for it to drop and drop and drop. I mean, you got states right now where the age of consent for marriage is 16. You got other states that are proposing it should be 14. And that'll keep going down. I mean, truly. The sickness does not end where it begins. It doesn't end until people put an end to it. Period. It'll keep going until there's no age at all. Truly. If left alone to do so. Alright, so, yeah, this is going to be a short one. Please hit the buttons down below, like, rumble, subscribe. That's my rant for the day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of yours.